Well then, welcome to the Abington Planning Board meeting of October 7th. And Liz, I will rely upon you heavily to help me get through the order of the agenda tonight.
Okay.
So, we have minutes for May's. Do we want to approve the minutes?
Yep.
Okay. And it's just the minutes of September 9 meeting?
Yep. September 9. Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are done.
All right, you want to pop into the zoning board agenda quick?
And sure, zoning board agenda. Do I have a copy of that? Thank you. Zoning Board of Appeals, public hearing on Thursday, October 10th. Old business and new, approval of minutes, correspondence mail, petition of Kristen Williams for variance under 17521A, and petition of Heidi Bates, special permit under 17532. Anything more we need to do on this, Liz? Just if this...
No, just if anybody has any comments, I'm happy to share them
Yep.
with the zoning board for Thursday night.
Comments or questions?
Wait a few more months, they wouldn't have to do this.
Oh,
But no,
I guess that's kind of one of my comments, is it might be worth or time to have town council come in and give us an update on some of the new rules we have to know about.
There are none. Whatever the law is, what the law is at this moment. We're expecting guidance from EOLHC. We have not received any yet.
Well, still-
I'd be happy to have town council come in if they had something to share, but I did reach out to them on something else.
I mean, I've asked a number of times because I think it's also good for us just to know updates in general on rulings made throughout the court. I don't think she's been here for a couple of years now, so.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they have something, I'm sure they'll be happy to come in.
It's beyond that, too. It's also any rulings in the SJC or housing court that we should know about, I think, which...
Okay, if you want to send me an email about that, I can forward it to town council. Be happy to do that, as long as the whole board agrees to that.
It's every 3 or 4 years, we should have come back through and do an update, that's all.
Okay, any specific comments or questions on the Zoning Board of Appeals agenda or upcoming meeting? No? Okay.
All right, you can skip the discussion action items because it's on twice. I also assigned them a time, so you
All right.
could get right to the public hearing, site plan complex continued.
The 6:05 public hearing?
Yes.
It being approximately 6:05, public hearing site plan special permit, 199-225 Central Street, Fire Station DPW Complex.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, temporary. Sean Riley, resident of Abington, not town council, here as the chairperson of the building and the DPW and Fire Station Building Committee. This is our continued hearing, and I just want to reintroduce some of the people that were here last time. Brian McCusker from Weston and Sampson will be making a brief presentation, along with Elena, who's with the same Weston and Sampson. Sean Schmiegel from KBA, Castle Booze Associates, is the architect for the site. And of course, you all know our fire chief is here with us. So with that, I'll leave it to Brian.
Just got a quick presentation. I just think this might help graphically.
Made you the co-host, so you should be all set. Voila.
All right. Yes, thank you for having us again. Just a couple things tonight I just wanted to clarify and help show, I think that'll help explain our project. You know, it is a phased project, and I think we just kind of wanted to maybe help clarify that to help continue it and keep it going. There are some things that we still have to address that are gonna take time. And we're working through those, and Larry's been very helpful on those with the team. So once again, here's the site. As you can see, the police station is existing along with the, you know, this is the whole site after everything's completed. And the main thing we're kind of trying to get resolved tonight is the approval to bid mainly Phase 1. Now, Phase 1 consists of the salt shed and the fuel island and the associated driveway on the newer parcel that used to be a residential property. One of the reasons we're doing this is to be able to phase the site. It's very difficult for the DPW to run winter operations remotely without a salt shed. So this will get them a new salt shed by next year, for next winter, while they're off-site completely, actually. So, and then,
Except for vehicle management.
yes, true, yeah. So most of the staff, like the highway, the superintendent, all of them, they'll be all off-site. Vehicle maintenance, yes, will remain to exist. And as you can see, you know, that's the extent of Phase 2. So once again, here's the existing site. The blue portion is kind of where most of the new Phase 1 work entails. And then the green buildings, our existence remain. The red buildings will come down eventually in Phase 2. And here once again, so we'll see the salt shed in blue and the fuel island's right below it. So that way the police can use that driveway as well eventually once it's completed. But here's kind of that existing limit. So that's what it'll look like at the end of Phase 1, which I have a schedule later that'll help kind of clarify that.
Can we ask questions as we go? Would you rather-
Yeah, no. Anything you have.
All right, so that back corner has a pretty good hill.
Yep.
Is it being completely leveled? Is it being graded? What's the treatment for that area?
Yeah, so the salt shed is being built into the hill.
Okay.
So we use the push walls as retaining walls as well. So that also helps with keeping the salt structure not as visible for the neighbors, you know? So it takes, you know, about 10 feet off of that salt shed. We've done that in a few communities. I have photos of it down below. So there will be a little bit of retaining wall, and actually that's the highest portion on the site where we actually are able to infiltrate, and I'll show you the stormwater in a minute. Everything else is kind of in groundwater or lower.
So the land behind it is also a similar elevation? I assume it's not a little peak the salt shed is?
Here, let me just get up here for a second. So this is all gonna remain as is, and then
Yeah.
there's that wall, so.
Right, so behind it, off property, the cemetery.
Yep.
It's higher like that too. It's not, doesn't immediately go back down.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, as you can see, it kind of grades up a lot, so the cemetery is a little bit higher, so.
So when the water's running off the cemetery, running onto the property, is it guided or somehow around the salt shed?
We waterproof it, and there is a French drain, if that's what you're trying to get at. Yeah, we gotta keep the hydrostatic pressure down on that. Yeah, it's like a typical retaining wall, you know. We don't have like weeps in it, but we do have to direct it around.
Yeah, I mean, because water and salt would not go well.
Yeah. Understood. And then here's the Phase 2, where we demolish the existing salt shed, and then construct the new fire department, the DPW, and then finish the site work and stormwater systems. So most of that site is mainly sheet runoff to the bioswale up front. And let me just show you this. So as you can see, it's a little bit easier here. So here's the stormwater systems for the most part, right? So Phase 1 mostly entails sheet runoff to the front bioswale. Now, there's gonna be contractors on the site for a few years, so we're gonna have sedimentation and erosion controls and temp fencing, and it's gonna have to move a few times, but that's the intent. So, you know, we'll keep all this going while this is being under renovation and construction. Yeah, once again, there's the extent. So you can kind of see, they will have to dig up a little bit to put in the stormwater chambers, but for the most part, we've been able to kind of keep it out of there.
Dig up a little bit where?
You can just kind of see this little corner. We're not gonna finish, we plan on not finish paving this just because it's gonna get beat up, and then at the end of it, it'll just all be finished paved.
The whole site.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Construction's never clean.
No.
And then here's kind of the overall schedule that we presented to the building committee last week. So phase 1 has been going on since July of this year, and we're here right now in October. We're trying to bid that soon, and we'd be pulling filed sub bids early November, general bids mid-November, and then from there we would review the references and award notice proceed. And then from there, we're hoping that the salt shed fuel liner are completed by June 25. And then from there, in tandem, we're also designing the DPW building and fire department building and the rest of the site. That's going out to bid in February. So by the time the other contractor's leaving the site, we're trying to get the other contractor to start showing up to the site. So that's kind of the intent. And as you can see, the construction administration goes from March 25 to January 27 currently.
What's the difference between the bids on the left and the right?
So the left is phase 2 technically, which are the buildings. It's much larger project, whereas phase 1's really just a salt shed and the fuel island and just that kind of area right there in the red.
I'm sorry, go back to that bid.
Rick?
Yep.
Could you get closer to your microphone? Thank you.
Could you go back to that last slide?
This one?
Yeah.
Yep.
So bids February 25 to May 25, that's phase 1?
That's phase 2.
All right, so bid October 25 to November 25 is,
Phase 1 work. Yeah, sorry, I guess I should.
so should that be 24?
It should be,
Oh, yes, it should be 24.
okay.
Sorry.
That's where I was-
I'm already thinking ahead.
All right,
I'm already in 2025 in my mind.
okay.
it's close.
It came pretty quick. No, good catch. Yeah, one of the things that's come up about the temp facilities is we were really struggling with where in town the DPW can relocate for quite some time on top of having winter operations. So then we decided to come up with this a few months ago. So I just wanted to, we're really, at the end of tonight, we're really trying to just request approval to bid that phase 1 salt shed fuel island and associated site improvements, with the intent that we're gonna come back. I think it sounded like we're working for December meeting probably, just to make sure everything's clean and buttoned up on our end.
So there's still a number of outstanding issues that prevent us from putting out phase 2 at the same time?
I think so,
Okay.
based upon the most recent correspondence we've gotten from Larry.
And the buildings are not fully designed yet either. So we're trying to do an accelerated site package, right? The salt shed building's a little bit simpler than the fire department building and the fuel island as well. Like those are much simpler elements. So this is a much smaller package. And then one of the things as well is we have to pre-qualify the contractors for the phase 2 project. We do not need to pre-qualify for the phase 1 project. It's under a threshold.
Okay, so back to Silver Engineering's correspondence of September 30th. That kind of steps through all the observations that were made and reviewed in the last meeting. Put that down. And I'm going straight to the last page of that. Yeah,
Okay. I didn't know if you knew that.
I did know that.
Okay, sorry.
Going to the last page of that December 30th correspondence. Second, technical review has concluded that most of the significant issues have been satisfactorily addressed. Some questions remain and must be addressed. However, I believe that the work associated with Phase 1 related to the salt barn and fuel station relocation as described at the last meeting could be allowed to proceed if the board members are so inclined. So the engineering recommendation is that we probably, the board can consider moving forward with Phase 1 as is being requested tonight. So I guess it kind of begs the question in my mind, how much of the still substantial a number of items that are in the correspondence we want to go through tonight, with the understanding, as you said, that some of these are still being worked now.
Yes.
So rather than pound through those one at a time in detail,
Right.
maybe we could get a general sense of kind of how things are going and...
Yep. Well, I could start with the end first, and that is on this Phase 1. When I made this recommendation here, I would say that the only thing that I was unaware of was that there is really no plan to do all of the drainage associated with Phase 1. And as Brian was indicating, along the lower section, if you want to put that graphic back up, along the lower section of that new driveway, that area is planned on being as part of Phase 1. However, the area closest to the salt shed, which had a couple of catch basins connected to infiltration basin, that work is not planned as part of this Phase 1. I just want the board to be aware of that. Brian has indicated that that would go into the next phase, and that contractor in the next phase would basically have to take out some of that pavement in that area in order to do the drainage work. So when you asked the question, I believe that you asked the question about whether or not all the drainage would be in place for that Phase 1 and where it was going from the salt shed, that is the only area that I would say that I don't think was clear, is that area right in front of the salt shed, which is a component of the drainage system, that will not be in place at that time. So I guess, Brian, from that point of view, the drainage cannot find its way to the front, can it, at that point?
It looks like it grades that way.
Can I actually?
Yeah, let Elena chime in here.
So right now, there are two catch basins, one over here and one over here. So this one is really picking up the runoff. As you mentioned before, there is slope coming down from the cemetery. So we have a high point in this corner of the salt shed. And then there is a kind of a swale going down here to a future catch basin that's going to be installed with Phase 2. And then a swale coming along this side of salt shed and retaining wall. And this runoff is getting picked up by this catch basin right here. And then this catch basin is really picking up this kind of front area in front of the salt shed. And then the driveway and the fuel island that really should flows towards this fire retention area. So our approach is we really cannot put those catch basins as catch basins because they're supposed to be going to this system that's not going to be constructed yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to use 2 dry wells in their places right now. So the water is going to get collected and percolate to the extent feasible.
I'm sorry, those dry wells already exist, or those would...
No, they will be installed as part of Phase 1.
Okay.
And then in Phase 2, the future contractor will replace them with catch basins, remove the dry wells, put catch basins in, and construct this system so they can connect to something.
Okay.
What I would ask the question is that why can't the infiltration system that's proposed in Phase 2, why that cannot be built and those catch basins put in now with the understanding that it can't be connected to the remaining of the drainage system, that there would just have to be an overflow from that should the infiltration not be able to handle it, because what you're telling me is that the dry wells are going to do basically the same type of work that the stormwater infiltration system is proposed to do. So why can you not put that component in that first phase and end it there before it connects to the next phase, which would be taking the drainage around counterclockwise from the site? But at least have that component in so that you can have the collection and the infiltration component in place before you get to Phase 2.
So one of the reasons for this infiltration area is really interconnected. So the overflow during a large storm would go further downstream, I guess, towards this detention system, and then connect through all this piping back into this 36-inch pipe that Larry mentioned at the last meeting. Right now, if there is a large storm happens and those 2 catch basins get overwhelmed, So this water will be kind of sheet flow towards this driveway and get picked up by the system. If we collect this, if we construct this, the overflow from the system will not have anywhere to go until we construct the rest of it.
So you put in a temporary overflow that would do the same thing. You put in a structure with a rim that basically will come out of that rim because it's set at an elevation that'll go to the same place that you're suggesting that the Phase 1 drainage will go. I don't see there's much of a difference in terms of where that design failure for the first phase would go. It would go to that same location, and it would still take advantage of the infiltration.
So would there be tie-ins, I'm not a civil engineer on this job, would there be tie-ins between stormwater systems, between different contractors? Is that what is gonna happen though?
Well, I mean, it might be that the second contractor is taking it from the tie-in or to the detention chambers and undoing that overflow that would just be in that one section. So if I could just show you. So all I'm saying, the way that it was described was that when these were overflow, it would find its way across over to here. So what I'm saying is put the basins in, have them connected to here, let them do the infiltration here, but instead of having this hard connection to the Phase 2, have that be the one that discharges to the same place. And have that in place already.
So from constructability, that certainly is feasible. One of the reasons why we decided to keep all of those infiltration and detention chambers in one package is just for hopefully to realize some cost savings. Have one contractor, buy a larger quantity of them versus splitting them up. Additionally, if the future contractor will finish the system, we want to make sure that they will be usually responsible to make sure it's all cleaned out. We don't want to have an issue, say, well, someone else built this before me, I don't want to be responsible for their work. We can certainly discuss it, but that's just the reasons why we went with this approach.
Yeah, one of the things I'm thinking is, we're trying to keep this package really abbreviated, and there's gonna be a lot of heavy machinery on this site, and I can just imagine someone doing something and then pointing fingers at the one contractor. I know, I just hate to, it's been difficult lately with warranties.
So when those dry wells fail, where's the water going?
So if there is ponding more than 6 inches around those dry wells, the water is gonna go down this driveway to the catch basins on the other side of the police station.
And to the left also.
And then
So it's not going in the parking lot of the police station?
No, well, it's gonna go across the parking lot, and there is a catch basin right here, and I think right there, and there is a line connecting those catch basins to that 36-inch pipe. Ooh.
Yeah, it's a touchscreen, sorry.
So, Larry, have you seen any design or specifications for the dry wells that we're talking about now?
No,
Okay, so,
that's the first I heard from tonight.
yeah, that's what I was afraid of. So we've got a design proposal, which I think in concept we understand what you're talking about, but we don't have any means to determine whether it's sufficient or adequate, whether it would work the way it's intended to work, which in my mind is a little problematic.
Mr. Chairman, can I mention part of the equation too? And Elena, correct me if I'm wrong, but for rainwater that falls on the salt shed or to the left of the salt shed or immediately in front of it, some of that rainwater is going to flow, as we're looking at it, to the left. Right? We can have it shed to the left, which is now basically that open yard area. It's not an impervious area. It's the DPW's yard. So anything that sheds to the left, frankly, where the underground drainage system is going to be right now is gravel and dirt and stuff over there right now. So if we were to finish Phase 1, and if there was rainwater coming, the uppermost portion of that corner is going to flow to the left and is going to be absorbed, partially at least, absorbed in that open yard area. The other thing we're trying to do is we have to maintain the DPW operation and vehicle maintenance. So if we start moving that Phase 1 line to the left, we're just going to start interrupting and taking away more space. Keep in mind also that our goal is, when we finish Phase 1 in May or June or so, our goal is, as we get closer to finishing, like say in March and April, the DPW is going to start removing their supplies and equipment off-site, so that when Phase 1 is done in, let's just say June 1st as a date, they will be able to now be off-site, so the Phase 2 contractor can start immediately. And just the name of the game, one of the first things the Phase 2 contractor is going to be doing is demolition, site clearing, and then their underground work. So there's only going to be a short period of time before, I would submit, and correct me if I'm wrong, those drainage systems start to be installed as part of Phase 2. It inherently has to be one of the first parts of the project. So we're hoping that the sheeting to the west, to the left, and whatever is down lower near the fuel station will either be gathered downstream down near the driveway or potentially go into the catch basin near the police, would be sufficient to carry us through that summer. And by the end of the summer, you would think that drainage systems are now you're gonna see them all start getting connected. So these are a lot of the things that we've been talking about, trying to coordinate active, the DPW and the police station staying active, and vehicle maintenance. And so that was part of our hope. I understand what Larry's saying, but I'm hoping that it's going to be a de minimis concern given where it's located and how short a gap there's going to be between Phase 1 and 2.
So the dry wells are rated to hold what type of storm before they overflow back up, whatever?
We generally design them for a 2-year storm.
A 2-year storm? Okay. So a 1-month storm nowadays.
Yeah, right, yeah. No, and mind you, there is no stormwater management on the site now.
Right.
So when it rains...
But the difference is that right now it's grass and dirt and whatnot, and we're proposing to put in, compact dirt, and that's going to have additional runoff, and
Yep.
it's just, we need to make sure that 8-month period where before the next drainage system is hooked up, could have a drought, could be the rainiest spring and summer in 100
Right.
years, we just don't know, so we'll make sure that.
And where those drainage structures are going, again, correct me if I'm wrong, that new driveway, that loop driveway we're putting in, that drops down right to left
Yeah.
pretty significantly. So that the grade is going to be shedding the water that way. So as we're not building that driveway as part of Phase 1, we're just going to be paving in front and around the salt shed so that they have room to maneuver and load the trucks. But that base coat of pavement obviously can be laid down, so it makes sure that it does pitch that way.
So hypothetically, just go along with me for a second here. We get a bad nor'easter in February, and everything gets flooded out. So it's one of those rainy nor'easters versus a snowy nor'easter. So let's say that those basins overrun, it starts to flood down across the police parking lot. I assume we won't have a freezing problem. It's not going to stay there. It'll be moving pretty quickly. It's not going to be ponding on the police parking lot.
Because there is drainage in the police parking
Right.
lot now.
Okay.
So anything that gets in the police parking lot is going to get caught.
Right.
Anything that goes in the main part of the entrance driveway has a drainage system. That driveway, as it approaches from Central Street to the fuel island, it all pitches back towards Central Street and will be collected in that open retention area. So what we're talking about really is what happens...
You're getting ahead of me for 1 second. so
Oh,
just
go
hold on a
ahead.
second.
I don't want to...
I just want to make sure that, hypothetically, we get a bad storm, floods into the police parking lot. It's a police parking lot. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, to be clear, we do care about our police
Yes,
department.
yeah, but it's not, it's not the hospital front parking place. I mean, it's...
Yep. It's the employee parking lot.
If there's a problem, it's a good place to have a problem where it's surrounded by municipal infrastructure, basically.
Yeah, we are not going to flood any neighbors with this.
Right.
Okay, nothing is flowing towards a neighbor, which I think is very important.
But they'll be aware that, there'll be a little possibility of a little additional water coming through the lot or something on a big storm, and
And it would only be coming from the pavement area, basically to the north of the fuel island, that
Right.
doesn't go west, and it makes its way southwest. So I don't think it's going to be a huge impact, but to your point, yes, it is an employee parking lot behind the building that has an existing drainage system that can cart the water away. And hopefully, if if all things go, you know, just a few months after that, we're going to have this drainage system put in.
All right, so that area south, the fuel island south, all the runoff from that area will go into that catch basin. That'll be built, one of the first things that's built when you start moving up that driveway. You're gonna,
The retainage area down there?
Yeah.
The bioswale.
The above-grade stormwater system, as it's shown on that plan, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have to grade the road first. It's a little hilly, so they're gonna have to grade the road, but that will be the next step. Once they have the road graded, that's
Yeah.
gonna be.
That's my only other big concern then is, again, get a big storm, what type of runoff do we see coming down onto Central, if there's nothing
Right,
there stopping it, basically.
right.
And then the bioswale is rated for what type of a storm?
So the bioswale, right now it's really treating the water quality storm, which is a 1-inch storm, and then everything else does overflow. It's really not, actually, it's not an infiltrating bioswale because of the high groundwater, so what it does, it's treating the water from any pollutants. So it's a filtering bioswale, it has a liner, and that's partially because this is a DPW facility, it's a land use with higher pollutant loading. So it's going to just really be there to temporarily hold the water, filter it out, and then let it out towards the pond once it's cleaner.
Okay. Any concerns about the ability to handle a big storm?
It's not gonna handle a big storm.
Okay.
Right. It won't.
But that's an acceptable design?
No, it's just not gonna, in this phased approach, it's not gonna handle the big storm.
But I'm talking about after.
After it's going to overflow to the 36, and that 36 is gonna carry to the pond.
Okay.
So, but the water's being cleaned in the bio area, and then it's accounted for in the calcs for stormwater going out.
So when it's all done, it'll drain into it doesn't just run off into the street, it runs to the
Right.
36-inch pipe. Okay. Thank you.
And if I could add, and we're fortunate that if the schedule works out the way we outlined and everything goes smoothly, this Phase 1 would be finished again in the spring, and then we'd be talking about summer rainstorms that would be a concern until we get more drainage added. So if there's a benefit to that, that's the benefit, that we're not going to have ice storms. Is it possible things get delayed? Of course it always is, but we will, obviously, everyone in this room, especially this guy, wants to get this project done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, but you know how construction goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's always,
It's always something.
right. But that was, I just want to highlight that concern and why we need to be careful where we draw our lines so that we can keep our departments in operation. And I can tell you right now, even the vehicle maintenance, we're going to be talking with the general contractor about moving, we have to have access to that building on both sides, so we're going to be working things out. It's beyond the planning board, it's more of a construction document thing about where we're moving fences while they do certain parts of it. And, you know, we may only be able to access the building on one side for temporary, you know, for a couple of weeks while they're doing pavement or whatever. So it's going to be a flexible site for us, because we need to keep the police and the vehicle maintenance working at all times, with addition of the fuel depot for everybody. Thanks.
So I think that we have a engineering recommendation on the table that we could move forward with Phase 1. I guess the wrinkle that you've kind of thrown in tonight are the dry wells, and I just want to come back to that for a moment. So you had said there's nothing there for drainage now.
Right, and there's no pavement in that corner now either, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So what runoff are the dry wells intended to capture?
Brian, can you go back to, so it's,
Is it related to the construction of the salt shed?
it's going to be really this area in front of the salt shed, so this paving, like little square of paving area, because this area is gonna should flow in the direction
Yeah.
where it's going now. The salt has.
So it's intended to address the fact that where there is not pavement now, there will be pavement in front of the salt shed.
Correct.
And and its intent is to capture the runoff from that pavement.
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing that I would suggest is that if they don't want to build the infiltration system now, across that footprint of where that drainage is going to go, where you see the reddish color right there, perhaps they could just do a stone line trench that takes it around the police station parking lot to that catch basin, as opposed to relying on it going through the police station parking lot.
Like a perforated pipe, you mean, or just a pipe?
No, just a stone line trench
Yeah.
in that same area where the drainage will be constructed later. In the interim, just have it going across that same area. You're telling me it goes down, gonna be downhill anyway.
Yeah,
Taking it around that way, so you're not relying on it going across the police station parking lot. You're allowing for it to get caught, intercepted, and taken across over.
So what's that, like approximately
So
that?
I think it's probably gonna go over here and then under the paved area, under grassed area in the parking lot, kind of to a catch basin that's.
Yeah. So-
Probably have to work it around, that's kind of the mound right now, so.
Yeah, but in other words,
Yeah.
make it so it's more like an interceptor trench for that first phase, to get it to the same place you want to go. And it doesn't interfere with you keeping your drainage done in the second phase, but it does provide a little bit more of a safeguard.
yeah.
No, I think that's good.
Give it more of a relief.
I just feel more comfortable having someone do all this at once, I think.
Then they come back, he undoes it, takes that trench out when they go to build that.
Yeah. Okay, I see what's happening.
Just want to, our project manager, Taylor McDonald's here, I didn't mention him earlier, he is here, so Taylor can always help out.
I do have a question on that too. It's more for Larry, but are you saying the trench in lieu of the dry well or both?
Well, I think that the dry well, if it's going to take and do that first inch, I think it should still be there.
Okay.
And then from there, the overflow, instead of it just going unregulated, would be able to go around, because you don't want to have it, the untreated going into that other catch basin.
Just a temporary tie-in, so it's.
And that's just in that first initial phase one.
It's brilliant.
Should be easy, yeah.
Yeah.
I've learned everything from the zoo.
It's getting deep in here.
Jeez. Everyone knows everyone. Yeah, so that is the intent.
Okay, so we have agreement then that that's doable? The trench that Larry's talking about?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And just show that those, the dry well infiltration, which is going to be just, at that point there, is going to handle that first flush. But the problem is, are you getting cleaning at that point? Because you're talking about going straight down, you're not getting cleaning at that point.
There is no pre-treatment, but we're hoping that it's a temporary condition. And right now, none of this site gets any really pre-treatment, so it's still better than what's out there today, and it's only going to be there for less than 6 months, hopefully, if the future system gets put in as the first thing of a phase 2 project.
I mean, if you kept those as the deep sump catch basins on that side, and then when you went to the swale, you did something to just treat that flow coming into it, and then into that interceptor, you'd take care of both issues at the same time. Just think about it that way, and
Yeah.
just come back to me with that. But you guys can still act on it in a way that conditions it to have that issue resolved, that's all.
I understand the problem, but we're really making a situation worse than what's there now.
This gets back to the timing where they're saying the phase 2 is going to overlap with the phase 1, where you're talking, Brian, of what, a few months different
Yeah, let me
time?
go to that
or-
schedule.
You got to make the drainage sort of the priority of on the phase 2. You got to make it almost like he has to do the drainage work first. I know he's got some demolition, and then lead right into it.
Yeah, so the Phase 2 isn't going out to bid till February. We probably won't have that notice to proceed till May. The other contractor will be pulling off hopefully in June. By the time that person mobilized, we would assume they would probably be on site right as the other contractor's pulling off. So,
Yeah, that's the plan.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you hit it, but yeah, that's the plan, is to have Phase 1 ending, Phase 2 starting. The first thing will be demolition of DPW.
Right. There's almost like where you're showing that window there, you're showing almost like there's a 3 months.
No, it's
Overlap, no?
gonna be bang bang. It should be pretty much,
Well-
they're finishing up and next contractor's starting within the same month, we're hoping.
And the reason I say there's a 3-month difference is because by the time someone actually mobilizes, notice to proceed, submittals come in.
Gotcha, yeah.
They don't show up on site as soon as the contract
No.
starts these days. And we've tried doing a phase project before. It doesn't work well with salt sheds and fuel islands. People have gone off-site to use Cumberland Farms or Speedway or what have you for towns. Not feasible. And then the salt shed, we tried doing temporary salt sheds by putting salt with tarps down in parking lots. It's really difficult. So I think this was a solution that we had this summer, so.
Okay, my sense is that we've got kind of a general agreement about how we can proceed with Phase 1. Pertaining to the subsequent phase or phases, how do we propose to address the recommendations, the feedback? I mean, are we going to reassemble to kind of go back through Phase 2 again in a follow-up meeting?
Yeah, well, I think that, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are still working on resolving some of those other items, but they're not, they don't preclude being able to do this first phase.
Right.
Okay. So I think that as long as they're moving forward to try to resolve the other outstanding items, it's really on your timing as to when you might want to do
So I
that.
guess my question is one step further than that. So assuming that the collaboration is continuing and we're working towards resolution of
Yeah.
everything that's here, then we're coming back in for another public hearing to assess progress against all of the things that are still outstanding for
For
Phase
the
2.
remaining phases, right.
So I think they were thinking about maybe December, and if you guys could make the Phase 1 approval in the form of a motion, so we can just have that quantified for the file.
We'll get there.
I know. Did you bring plans?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So, do we want to update maybe on, there's some of the issues, excuse me here. Some of the issues are, we're still kind of working out with the building committee. We have a cost estimate review coming up, so it's things like that. I know some of the concerns we're addressing, the impervious site and trying to work through that, so, we have to coordinate that with the departments. Things like that. We're working on getting a surveyor back out there for the pipe, again, for the second time. There's some inconsistencies potentially with the inverts of that pipe, so.
Consolidation plan, and you're still looking at that driveway issue on the left.
For the board's knowledge, there was a online meeting with the engineers Friday. It's Friday. So they were able to update and kind of fine tune and focus on a few things. All right, let's work on these things. And our suggestion was that we would continue this after you take your Phase 1 vote, but continue this to your December 2nd meeting, where at that point we would hope we would come here with a full, complete set of all these issues, check the box on everything, with a final plan to just approve, and for the vote to approve the special permit for the lot coverage, which does need 4 of you to vote anyhow, so we couldn't vote on that tonight. We have to continue it. Site plans can be approved by majority, 3 out of 5. Special permits by statute need 4 out of 5. And there was a question brought up, and it was in the comment letter, and I think Brian was just alluding to it, about the 2 bylaws. You had questions about the tree bylaw and the soil removal bylaw. There is mention in the letter, the response letter, but I also brought copies of the same text In both bylaws, there is exemptions for public projects and for the tree removal, we don't count trees that are actually in the construction zone, and unfortunately, the trees that we're cutting are in our construction zone, right along our pavement line or building lines. We are adding trees out front, which is in the response letter, but I just brought answers to those two questions separately just for your files, if you don't mind me passing them out to you. Just so we can kind of cross those two questions off the list.
Thank you.
Valid questions, because they should be asked for every project, but in this case, it doesn't apply. I am a resident with a legal background, let's say that.
So we have, again, the correspondence from SEA from September 30th, and there's comments here regarding the tree bylaw, soil bylaw, etc.
Yeah, since those were not ones in which they didn't come out of my initial review, they were things that were brought up and discussed by the board.
Right.
I didn't feel it was my place to actually make a response to those.
Understand.
I
I guess
the board's.
my question is, so is what you're giving us now supplemental to what's here? Or
No,
is
it's
it saying the same
identical
thing?
language, it's a memo that has the same language that's in the response.
Yeah, okay, all right.
As Larry said, because it was kind of a separate issue from the engineering and all, I brought it in as a separate response also, that's all, just for your files.
Okay.
Thanks.
So since we're talking specifically Phase 1 tonight, and which of this is the landscaping plan?
Let me see.
I've looked through them all, I just, for time's sake.
You know, while he's looking it up for you, on Phase 1, which is on the right side of the property, over near Mr. DiCarlo's house, if you go down there now, there's a row of about 4 trees out near Central Street. Those trees are being preserved, they're being maintained. Between those trees and the police department is just open lawn area with an existing 5-foot-tall chain link fence. It's still going to be, now it's going to be a driveway with existing lawn area, and we're just relocating the 5-foot-tall fence.
Yeah, so I guess, I think along the right-hand side, it was fine. I think it's that grassy area, just if there's going to be any sort of plantings for there as
So if you
well.
just remember, there's a retention area over in that area.
Yeah.
So it's mostly,
Yeah.
you drive by, it's going to look like grass. One of the things we've been careful about, and I know we mentioned at the last meeting, was not planting any trees up along Central Street that would block the line of sight for emergency vehicles, both police and fire. We will have trees and shrubbery and all, and it will be irrigated in the areas that are shown.
Right.
So this was, oh.
Go ahead.
Hold up. Yeah, this was in the original permit set. We didn't have any revisions to this.
All right, so those 3 trees on the right are what? Are existing or?
No, those are new. Anything that you're seeing that's very bold is all new.
Case in point, the one that's shown down near Central Street,
Yeah.
we're either going to have to pull it back or eliminate that one, because it also may interfere with the existing trees.
The one on the right, bottom right here?
On both of the larger trees that are shown down the bottom,
Yeah.
this one here and this one
Yeah.
here, a tree, you know, and I know caliper pear trees are not trees that the planning board likes, but a tight tree, fine, that could work, but not a large maple or oak tree. We don't want to have something with a wingspan that's going to block the view.
No, I'm just very conscious of the fact that we're creating a mini heat island with the amount of pavement we're having here, which is, you've made a case that it's necessary.
Yep.
But it's just going, right now it's dirt, compact soil, it's a little different than, you know,
Yeah. No,
like
and
asphalt.
we have discussed, we want it to be attractive when you drive by.
It's not even attractiveness, it's also, you know, keeping it cool and not having
Yep.
heat rise up, and I mean, this is stuff we're all taking into consideration now for projects, so.
True.
I'm just looking for any other opportunity where we can include a tree or two with some canopy on it.
It may very well be over near that driveway area. That's our best bet.
I think there's potential behind the police station where that mound used to be, potentially here. You know, we weren't really trying to get into touch their stuff, but that might be a nice buffer, potentially.
Yeah, and I don't want to interrupt the stormwater basins as well, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So I don't know if you read all of Larry's letter, but the responses about the trees and the dumping were in there, and if you don't have any questions, then great, thanks.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I think as it specifically pertains to Phase 1.
Does Phase 1 plans include sediment controls as your trucks are pulling in and out?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have that typical run, the gravel driveway strip, and then we have the typical erosion and sedimentation controls.
Well, the plan we brought today is just really one sheet to show kind of the intent, but for what we're putting out for bidding, that's a full set, having the soil erosion, you know, drainage. I don't think that there's really any utility work except for electrical conduit to the salt shed and the fuel island. But we're trying to keep all other utilities out of the package.
That's fine.
And temp fencing, you know, make sure no one gets in there.
Did we resolve the issue with the dry wells?
I think so.
Okay.
I think the end of that was you're going to include the dry wells and that
Stone trench.
stone trench.
All right. So, appropriate to make a motion?
Yeah, I think that Liz can take a crack at wording that one for us.
All right, motion to allow Phase 1 portion of the plan, as shown on the plan dated, and you guys will give me a plan and a date. Thank you. To move forward, the applicant will install dry wells as stated, and also install a temporary stone line trench to direct water around the police station, and that Phase 2 drainage installation will be a priority at the start of Phase 2, and that you'll also include sediment erosion controls and temporary fencing. Anything else?
Sounds good to me. So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, seriously.
Is there anything else you want to talk about Phase 2 or anything else?
I think we want to at least schedule it, right? So are we saying that that would go to the 2nd of December?
To the December meeting, yeah.
When would you need those plans by?
It would be nice to have them 2 weeks in advance, if it's
Okay.
possible.
I think that's reasonable. So December 2nd is the next is the December meeting you're saying, Liz?
Yes.
Monday night, so that would be the 18th
18th,
of November.
which is that the week before Thanksgiving?
That is.
Okay.
So this meeting, because you guys have obviously Thanksgiving off, you'd probably have to be posted on Wednesday potentially? The 27th, okay. All right.
Will that still work with you over Thanksgiving?
Sure.
Okay.
We could even have an interim meeting in between, a Zoom, if there's any questions before we go back here on the 2nd.
Yeah, I think those are quick, those are helpful.
I think that works good.
Larry, one last question. Do you have any concerns or major concerns with about that 36-inch pipe? Is that kind of the hang-up, or are you feeling that's in a good place, or?
I just want the clarification on the 36-inch pipe as to, I don't want to have any problems on the upgrading side, okay, where the water enters that 36, you know, before now versus the future. I want to make sure that there's no change conditions, and if there are going to be, that they are anticipated and dealt with. And the other thing is some clarification, because even when they went back to look at the box culvert, there are some differences in elevations that they had from the first time to now. And I did ask a question about another double line that goes through the DPW building, which I'm concerned is another old culvert that may have still be there, may not be functioning right now. Maybe it was because they had to add on to the DPW building at one time in history, not sure. I just want some clarification on that one. But I'm okay with the 36.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be at least one good surprise as you start tearing those buildings down.
Oh, jeez. The rats will scurry away.
You know, this raises a whole other question right there.
We are waiting on a supplemental survey as it pertains to the tailwater condition.
That's the box culvert, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the 36-inch.
We had the surveyor go out there again, and then I think we want them to go out there again, and the DPW is going to clean it out and make sure that the measurements are 100% correct.
Okay.
So,
So yes, the surveyor did go out there, and the bottom of that culvert was, A, it was submerged, and B, it was covered by sediment, so they really couldn't identify the bottom of that culvert. They did give us a calculated value based on, how deep they think it is, but we're trying to clean it out and actually be able to see it hopefully measured accurately.
Okay. And we're waiting for a design review on the lighting.
Yep, we actually just received it today. I want to review it and then we can submit it either earlier or, I don't know, with the rest of the package.
Okay, so those things are moving forward.
Yeah, they are.
And I know in terms of the shut-off, there were a couple of recommendations about how that
Yep.
might change.
And I think that we've clarified how we think that it could be done in a better way than what was just illustrated. But some of those things were kind of talked about in that meeting on Friday, so those things are still in progress.
Okay.
But I think everything that needs to be done as it relates to this phase one is definitely resolved. It's just now, we just gotta make sure that all the other items are buttoned up before you
Yeah.
would take a vote on those.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Is that by,
I wanna make sure you
that
guys are
there
comfortable
aren't any
on the
major
subject.
red flags right now in terms of
Yeah.
conversations that aren't going well or areas where
I don't think
there
there's
is
a
general
I
disagreement.
don't think we have anything we're really on opposite ends of the spectrum there. I think a bulk of our outstanding comments are somewhat related to that driveway on the left side. I think that, but for the most part, I think we're definitely heading in the right direction.
In the right direction. Good, good. Okay. Anything else? A
Motion.
motion to continue the hearing.
Motion to continue the hearing until
December
December
2nd?
Plans to be received by the 18th of November.
There you go.
Second.
Moved, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
And Halloween.
You too.
To this whole absolutely. Give him a chance to breathe a little bit. Exactly. I mean, I caught up with coffee last week a little bit. It's doing good, but we can get together and everything.
You want one of these, Larry?
He asked me a few things.
What's that?
You want one of these?
Do you have one? Yes. Because I didn't get a copy of that.
No, but I think there's one.
It's good. It's on.
Anybody else want one?
What are we on to next, Liz?
We can go right to 1, 2. Try to do past 6, whatever. First place, I think we have to time.
That's another meeting.
That's the only place I would see.
Yeah, I said it.
No, it's just.
Thank you, Larry.
I got it. That's a whole.
Okay, next on the agenda, the board will discuss taking a vote to allow the use of Cape Cod berm instead of granite sidewalks at Rose Place.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing me to come in today. So we had submitted the plans for endorsement. After the board had approved the project, the fire department was when we received their information as to preference for granite curbing. We're not doing granite curbing in, the waiver is not for the sidewalk. It's for granite, allowing the Cape Cod berm instead of granite curbing. But the plan that is before you that we submitted for endorsement, because that was the plan that was with the conditions of approval, has the granite curbing in it. So if the board elected not to, it's fine. So, and then there was an issue related to tree. The board had actually given the waiver on the count of trees because of the limited area they were clearing and the amount, substantial area that we're leaving undisturbed. So the board had actually given a waiver. So we are asking for the endorsement of the Mylar so that we can actually finally get this project on the way. And if the board approves the waiver for the curbing, then that can be put in as a rider. But we are hoping that we could get the plan endorsed so that the project can actually go forward.
So has something changed that we need the Cape Cod berms versus the granite?
Oh, the fire department sent a letter that says that that's their preference because it's easier for them to mount their vehicle. That's why it actually came after the subdivision approval.
But they sent it after the hearing was already closed?
Yes, we did not, that was not part of our request originally. Yes.
So, I mean, my feeling is that if this is the position of the fire department, then they need to basically propose a bylaw change. Because we have a bylaw that says one thing, but the fire department's now saying, well, we actually don't like that and want to give waivers to developers.
Yeah, that would be a change to definitive subdivision plans, to the subdivision rules and regs.
Yeah, but we also have a town bylaw that specifies it.
So it's in both places.
Yeah.
Because I'd agree that this isn't the first time we've heard this.
No.
No, I'm not interested in making those kind of changes right now. But it's up to the rest of you.
Well, if you're not in favor, then this isn't going anywhere.
Right, I am not.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not either.
Okay. It is what it is. So the plan already shows granite curbing anyway, because that's what we proposed.
Right.
Yeah, so that's fine. We just want to move it along with the project.
All right, so then they would need to endorse, they would need to sign the covenant and then endorse the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all we need.
And without, no curbing?
No, because...
No curbing change?
No curbing change.
Okay.
It's granite on the plan.
All right.
That was last night, believe it or not. As strange as it is, I was dreaming and then something, I'm like, holy crap, this project is a nightmare.
It's been quite some time.
It really has been.
A long-running nightmare.
Obviously, there were some issues at the very beginning.
Right, you know?
Who owned the entrances and...
So I want to see it actually constructed before I retire, because I really want to
It
retire.
might not even happen.
I really want to retire, I'm done.
You're done?
I'm tired. But,
We
you know,
all...
I'm pushing 70. I don't want to be working, Social Security maxes out on what you can get in when you turn 70. So next year, I'm retiring.
You have 2 jobs right now? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's because I started with a 40-year mortgage, a 30-year mortgage 50 years ago. And 40 years later, I still had a 30-year mortgage. Paying for kids to go to college. So thank God, they're all done now.
Anything that we have to sign here tonight, or?
Yeah, you can endorse the plans tonight, I have them. You can do it after the meeting.
Yeah.
And then we can do the covenant. Are they, is supposed to be a place for them to sign on this? Is this supposed to be a place for the board to sign on that?
Not according to your forms.
Okay, that's, it's been
No,
100 years since they
it's
did
just
one
for
of
the
those.
board to approve the form.
Approve it, then you
And that
record it.
gets recorded.
All right.
Because it's referenced on the Mylar.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Because I'm afraid, one of the reasons I wanted it endorsed, I'm afraid that the endorsement of the Whitman Planning Board will soon be more than 6
Yeah.
months. Then I gotta start all over again, you know? So,
We're not in 2040 anything, right? Let me get that date, right? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so you guys have to vote to enter into the covenant, and then you have to vote to endorse the plan if that is your choice this evening.
I'll make that motion.
All right?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
okay, thank you. Thank you,
All right,
appreciate
and
it.
then the motion to endorse the plan.
We need a motion.
Motion to...
The Mylar, yeah, the Mylar.
Yep.
The Mylar,
The Mylar.
the Mylar.
Motion made.
Second?
All in
Okay.
favor?
My friend, are all set.
Okay, thank you.
One step closer to retirement.
Yes, please, so I can get it recorded, yeah.
Okay. All right. and
Pardon
I'll
me?
make a
One step
copy.
closer to retirement.
Yeah, man. Well, built on that, I'm retiring next year. What scares me though, seriously, everybody that worked around me that retired, 6 months later, they dropped.
You gotta keep busy.
Stay busy.
You know, so that's pretty scary. All right, have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Don't tell us you're retired, just do it.
All right, see you later.
Okay. And we're showing a definitive subdivision hearing, 4454 Linwood Street, Winter Fox. Request to continue.
Okay, so I think I gave the board a copy of the request to continue from Zoe Chang. So I know the board doesn't like to keep continuing month after month after month. And when I got this, I emailed her back and said, the deadline for the November 4th agenda is this Friday. And they're not going to conservation until tomorrow night. And I'm not sure, I don't know the outcome of how that, I don't know how that's going to go.
I'd say we have a pretty good idea how that's gonna go.
So I asked them if they would prefer to pop this till December, when they would have more of an opportunity to review whatever conservation may say or may not say. I have no idea what they're going to say. And I never received a response back from her. So I will give you that information and then let you determine what you're going to do.
I mean, they asked for November, we can make November.
Right, I mean, that's what they asked for.
I'll make the motion to continue to November.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And this is in response to the October 1 letter from MP Design Consultants, right, Liz?
Yes, yes. So very quickly, I believe I sent all of you our copy of the letter from EOLHC that we are now we're approved for MBTA communities. In light of that, Rick, you sent back an email about applying for that Dazzle grant money, or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah.
What are they calling it? We're working on it. There's a specific name. They put aside $15 million for compliant communities, of which I think there's only...
Catalyst grant?
Catalyst grant. There's only 40 to 45 communities, I think, that are. So Kevin is actually plodding through that application right now.
So could we just take a step back for a second
Sure.
and kind of talk about what that what that grant is, what makes us eligible to apply for it?
It's basically helps support infrastructure projects related to the MBTA zoning district.
Multifamily,
Yeah.
creation of multifamily development.
My question is it only like lane technical assistance, or is it like hard dollars for projects? Shovels in ground, okay.
So we're applying for $500,000
Sidewalk?
for sidewalk design money on Summer Street. We did apply through that, the one-stop portal, which those grants were supposed to be announced by the end of September. And we're still in initial review if you look at our, on their dashboard.
So, I mean, I think this is one of the benefits of getting this done early, is that we're also now first at the trough.
Right.
And this is a perfect project. I mean, it is, serves the middle of our district from
Right.
top to bottom, so.
Right, and it's very, very, very much needed over there.
It's a perfect
I wish we could
project.
do more. I wish there was more money for us to do more stuff over there. There's not.
Yeah, let's be clear, 15 million is nothing compared to all the
Right,
needs of
right,
these communities.
right,
But let's be
right.
first and see what we can get.
Right, so kudos to Kevin plodding through.
Did you read the Pioneer Institute report?
I did not.
No, I haven't yet.
One of the, I take it a little with a grain of salt, but one of the things that points out is other people have is the number of towns who are putting their zoning districts around already built out districts and saying that basically turns out this may not create much housing at all because it's already built out. I mean, for whatever it's worth. I wouldn't be surprised to find some sort of state response to that strategy if it becomes the popular one. But we'll cross that bridge if it happens.
We have our golden letter.
Yep, we're all set for now, though.
Well,
Hazard
from what I
mitigation
understand, the way
plan?
that the line of questioning that was happening at this Supreme Judicial Court,
Oh, that's right, the hearing today.
yeah, the hearing today, that state may have other kinds of issues that it's going to have to deal with based upon the ruling that's coming down in a few months.
Okay.
Time will tell.
Yep.
Anything else we got, Liz?
Hazard mitigation plan has been updated and approved by FEMA. I'm going to the Board of Selectmen at the end of the month to ask them to adopt that. The open space and recreation plan, since it is kind of related to our master plan, it's part of that middle hanging fruit. We are in the process of updating it. And we hope to have a rough draft by April. There is an open space and recreation committee, and they're working very diligently on getting that done, and OCPC is writing it for us. MVP2, which is that municipal vulnerability grant we received, we finished our first phase and now are in our second phase where we're going to get money for a seed project, whatever the committee decides. And we're going to need to start thinking about accessory dwelling units. I did reach out to town council, and they have no guidance yet. So I will keep you posted, because the thought was maybe we could do something at the November town meeting. But
Not looking good, huh?
they advised against that, and only because the law is going to take effect February 2nd. And the earliest we can get something approved is the beginning of April. So, that's all I got.
Any updates on the consultancy on downtown development?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. They came out in August, and we did like a little pop-up with the business owners. Kevin and I canvassed that huge downtown area. Excuse me, and
From one end to the other?
from one end to the other, and passed out invitations. So we had a few business owners show up, and they had prepared some interactive boards with the storefronts on them and asked what they would like to see. Painting, trees, lights, whatever. There were little, what it was missing, crosswalks, all that kind of stuff. So the business owners went through and put the little stickers, not little stickers, put the stickers on what they wanted to see. So we're waiting to hear back from that, from the consultant.
Feedback from the consultant?
Yeah,
on
and we're
that-
also
on that
waiting,
meeting?
from that meeting, and we also, again, in that grant that was supposed to be awarded in September, had applied for an economic development grant for that as well, so we can do more with more money, right? So I think before we take another big step and make a decision, we're trying to see if we get any of that money. So if we find out we don't, then we will take Plan A and continue with that. If not, we pivot to Plan B with more money.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Anything else from any of the board members? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
7:25.